was like everything was like this book and really raise their hand to look around. The Bible. Like the second book being said first.
I'm going to try to get forward. That was pretty loud, right? I'm usually too soft. How's that? Good? Thanks. All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swananoa Valley. My name is Rose Levering. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We're a welcoming congregation committed to supporting one another in our search for spiritual meaning and community. In Unitarian Universalism, you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, your expansive heart. Together, we create a force more powerful than one person or one belief system. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't have to check our personal background and beliefs at the door. We like to say that we don't have to think alike to love alike. If you're new to UU, I encourage you to take note of our mission statement. It's printed on the front of the order of service. We also work together to promote the 8 principles printed on the inside or back of the order of service. It's our tradition to welcome first and second time visitors or those who haven't been here in a while. Would you please stand if you're comfortable, introduce yourself, and tell us where you're from. Anyone on this side? Yes, hi.
Steve Cooper, and this is my wife, Joan Gander, and we are related to this. Johnny is his wife.
All right, welcome. Anyone else on this side?
No, Jim Kelly. I grew up in New Jersey and used to attend a UU congregation growing up, and wanted to check out the one here.
Welcome.
Hey.
Anyone on this side? No?
I'd like to introduce my niece, Johanna, who's visiting from Washington, D.C.
Welcome to you all. If you're interested in learning more about us, or if you'd like to receive our newsletter.
Step over.
I'm sorry. All right, let me do this again. Any more on this side? Okay, I'm good. And then someone else on this side? No? Anyway, white card in the back of the pew or in the foyer, you can fill that out. We encourage you to fill out the card so we can get in touch with you if you're interested in learning more. It's our practice to acknowledge with respect that the land we stand on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and other indigenous people. The Cherokee, through stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survive and thrive on this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. Now, please make sure that your cell phones are silenced so the service may begin.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Boy, did that blow your ears out. I'm supposed to clear up today. It's a nice day. It's a nice day. Anyway, the words of Unitarian Universalist Max Koontz. This is called Saints, Sinners, and Seekers. Welcome to, good morning, Diane. Welcome to this church, a congregation not of saints or sinners, but of seekers. We gladly greet those who are on a journey, even if they know not where they wish to go. We would walk with you as you explore the way together. This congregation is a place where the lonely can find community, where the friendless can befriend and be befriended, where the hopeless can find a future, and where the happy can share their joy. Also where the despondent can share their pain and woe, and where people can find and be a neighbor, one to the other. So that's a good kickoff from Brother Max Coots. I invite you to stand as you are willing and able and join in the singing of our first hymn this morning. Our opening hymn, number 34. Our responsive reading this morning is number 598. Without hate, we will read this responsibly. May every creature abound in well-being and peace.
May every living being, weak or strong, the long and the small, the short and the medium-sized, the mean and the great.
May every living being, seen or unseen, those dwelling far off, those living nearby, those already born, those waiting to be born.
May all attain inward peace.
Let no one deceive another. Let no one despise another in any situation.
Let no one from antipathy or hatred wish evil to anyone at all.
Just as a mother with her own life protects her only child from hurt, so within yourself foster a limitless concern for every living creature.
Display a heart of boundless love for all the world in all its height and depth and broad extent.
Love unrestrained, without hate or enmity.
Then, as you stand or walk, sit or lie, until overcome by drowsiness, devote your mind entirely to this. It is known as living the life divine.
First song was requested by our soprano Suchitra Temnesversuk. She was moved upon hearing this chant sung by many of the monks and nuns at Plum Village in France on the 1-year anniversary of Thich Nhat Hanh's passing. She asked if our choir could sing it, and I made a choir arrangement of it. Suchitra heard her grandmother chanting prayers in Sanskrit called Bali in Thailand when she was very young. We hope you will be moved by this beautiful chant as well.
I just want to add a little bit about this chant. The chant is called Namo Avalo Kite Shawala. It is the name Avalokiteshvara is the name of a person who knows how to listen. Deep listening. Listen into your suffering. When you can do that, and then that will help you raise compassion and love to others, and then to the world. So we will chant Namo Avalokiteshvara 3 times. So the first time is focusing into your suffering. The second time, you can focus in people around you who have suffered. Your parents, your loved ones, your children, your friends. And the third one, you can have compassion to the sufferer of the world.
There goes half the congregation. Look at that.
Thank you, choir. This is the time in the service when we invite you to come up and share a joy, a concern, a sorrow, and Diane will do the honors. Well, you can do your own honors. And the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Barbara Rogers. I'm so glad to be with my family again. I've missed you all. And at this point, you are your true colors to me because I've had both cataracts removed. I'm Jane Carroll, and I have a handle of joy and two of sorrow. I wanted to let everyone know that the father of our new American family has received asylum. So now we just need the mother and the child. So good beginning. So I want to handle the sorrow because my little 16-year-old dog died, J-Man, and that's always sad. Another thing is I had a friend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where I grew up, who died a very tragic death, unexpected. And if you will keep his wife and other friends in your heart, his name is Mark. Thank you.
My name's Jim, and I'd like to report that my wife had a successful surgery on Tuesday morning. We thought it was cancer in her pancreas, so they removed half of her pancreas and her spleen. And the tests just came back, they're negative. The doctor told us that the test showed that it was precancerous, so it was good that we got it out. And hopefully, at the end of this service, I'll fly to Mission Hospital and take her home today.
That is good news. On a not so good note, Kathy Prosser's husband died of pancreatic cancer Friday, the 28th of April, at 64 years young, after 42 years of marriage. And so she says, please do not contact her for now. She's overwhelmed. And but she says she's holding on with the love of her family, and just to tell us that she will be back. So, one other thing, a little housekeeping chore. We have a lot of new people who've joined, and we want you to get involved. We're not going to bug you to get involved, but we'd like you to. We need some board people who want to serve on the board. It's a working board. But the good thing about you joining is you get to vote. And so you have a say in which direction our congregation goes, because we're going to have some changes coming up in the next couple of years if we keep going at the rate that we are, and I don't see why we wouldn't. But having said that, and I will announce it probably for the next month or so, so don't tune it out. And if you feel the need that that's something you want to do, we'd love to have you. You can contact me. Rose is here. Any board members here? Sally's here. Just look around. Dan is here. So I leave you with that. I invite you to join in the spirit of prayer and meditation, however you center yourselves. and we will have a time of quiet and go on with today's service. Thank you, Diane. Oh, for all of you or any of you who, for whatever reason, didn't mean to start with Diane, who didn't share, but we keep you in our thoughts and prayers. This is called Living in the Grace of the World. In the sacred stillness of this moment, pause to reflect on our place in a world we cannot fully comprehend. Some are heavy laden and seek strength. Some are lighthearted and wish to celebrate. Some are sorrowful and search for solace. Some are happy and hope to share life's joys. All wonder if we have deserved our lot in life, if the rain falls upon us because of mistakes we have made, or if the sun shines upon us because of the good we have done. We are so caught up in the immediacy of our lives, we are tempted to forget the larger picture. That we are but small pieces in the puzzle of existence, that the web of cause and effect is complex, that we often do not get what we think we deserve, that people who are generous, they often suffer, that people who are self-indulgent often prosper. What can we do before the seeming indifference of the universe? We can remind ourselves of the many graces of the world, the steadiness of the turning earth beneath our feet, the happy meeting of new friends when we least expect them, the kindness of strangers when we are low, the loyalty of those who stay with us in all seasons. We live in the grace of the world. Let us remember to be grateful. And now, while our minds are one, which is rare, for this brief moment, I leave you with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. We now have another treat from our choir. But no, we don't. Well, we do. But before then, I need to ask you for the offering. Where would I be without you? Broken on the streets. Thank you for your generosity. It is deeply appreciated. All right, let's jump in. One of the oldest texts in Indo-European language is called the Rig Veda. It's from the Hindu tradition. So I want to share a quote with you from the Veda. The writer says, "I know not whether I am the same as this cosmos. A mystery am I, yet burdened by mind, I wander." And now a quote from the book of Psalms, Psalm number 8. "When I consider the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have ordained, what are human beings that you are mindful of them?" As seekers of truth, and I'm assuming that's why you're here, and you have good taste, that's why you're here as well. The only thing we need to do is to take ourselves seriously. And so the question of why am I here will just arise naturally. We are naturally interested in both the cosmos and the person. In other words, we are interested in nature and consciousness, flesh and spirit. Truth and love are the two needs of the human inner life, the needs of the soul, if you will. Not a scientific term, but you get my drift. The entire academic world is occupied with knowledge as a community. But the domain of meaning always lies where? Within the individual. At whatever level of existence one is, there can be no serious consideration of meaning without relationships with all levels of reality, beyond what we can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. And there can hardly be any profound and satisfying relationships without love. For you see, the needs of knowledge and meaning are expressed as yearnings for truth and love. That's the ultimate. That's what you strive for. It's not always said that way. Separated from each other, they lead to some rational and logical knowledge which is barren of spirit, or just mere sentimentality. Any genuine spiritual disciplines are all concerned with integration and wholeness. If it's not about that, then those teachings are suspect. And with the integration of truth and love above all, love is required to know truth, and knowledge of truth is expressed by love. In other words, you can't get there just from here. Now, of course, the search for love in a dysfunctional sense can merely be my personal wish for comfort and security. Just as the search for truth can largely become a technological manipulation of nature in the service of the military or of industry or corporations. But whenever truth and love are separated from each other, trust me, the result is either sentimentality or dry intellectualism, in which power is divorced from compassion, and worst of all, it almost always carries the seeds of violence in it. The concern of the sciences has been with knowledge and a study of the external world, and I want to be clear here. Knowledge is different from wisdom. Knowledge applied can be wisdom, but they're not always the same thing. Or as they told me in my 12-step program, my best thinking got me here. For the past 4 centuries, physics, whose essential concern is to study matter in motion, has been considered the queen of the sciences, and every other science, including psychology, when it tries to be scientific, has attempted to model itself on the template of physics. Science, it's changing, but mostly as it is now practiced, searches for truth, but in a limited and partial manner, with many assumptions about the nature of reality, including a very reductionist and materialistic perspective. There was a time, back in the day, when theology was regarded as queen of the sciences, but not as a strictly mental discipline. It was a way of expressing, a way of loving God, if I can use the word, coming face to face with God, or about entering the so-called kingdom of heaven. All of that requires, whether you agree with it or not, but all of that requires a radical transformation of the individual, of body, mind, and spirit. See, you can have knowledge and not change. And you know, sometimes you talk to people, you ever talk to people and they oh, I know that. But To know and not to do is not to know. It's not to know. And so this spiritual science was a science of being with an understanding of the various levels of being in the cosmos. It's a universal testimony that all the saints and avatars and extraterrestrials and witches and sages that have been on the scene in our spiritual traditions, that there are many levels of reality. We're just getting that. But human evolution is glacial. And so, we see that reality corresponds to different levels of consciousness inside of it and outside of us, right? The more you look at things, the way that things begin to change. Quantum physics tells us not only am I being affected by what I observe, but I'm affecting what I observe. So the old Newtonian physics, that ship has sailed. There is a correspondence between the interior and the exterior levels. If you wake up in the morning and say life is a you-know-what and then you die, how do you think life's going to treat you? We create a great extent of our own realities. And so the purpose, and this is not my philosophy, research it. Don't just take my word for it. I was listening to the Senate hearings last week about UFOs, and they're still looking at life, or at least they're talking about it, and they're admitting that, and of course they always know more than they tell us, but they're still looking at life through this worldview that if I can't explain it, they don't exist, but they probably do. But if they do exist, they're a threat because they're in our airspace. It's that fear-based, they're going to be a new enemy, because we need an enemy. You always got to have it. When you spend that much money on defense, you gotta have something, you gotta have an enemy. The purpose of the spiritual disciplines is to develop the eyes of the interior. Insight is a better word. And so the eyes or perception of the spirit, this is what we're looking at. So in other words, we as a collective, we have eyes but we do not see. We have ears but we do not hear. And it's important to see things clearly as they really are and not as we wish them to be. Yes, you have to envision the world you want to live in. There's a power in that. All of us get together and visualize. We probably could cure some of these cancers and all our mental energy focus. It's powerful beyond words. There's studies on this, don't take my word for it. But we need to see the world as it really is. And so this requires what? A transformation. A radical transformation of an individual's being, body, mind, and heart. Most of us don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. The purpose of all genuine spiritual disciplines, as distinct from religion, they are different at times. Spirituality and religion, they're not always the same. One wishes and hopes. But is to assist in cleansing our perceptions so that we can move towards opening the eyes of the spirit, our inner eyes, and to be able to see what we cannot see with our physical eyes. The words of William Blake. Now he's speaking from a higher altitude. He's speaking from a metaphysical point of view. He says, if the doors of perception were cleansed, you and I would see things as they really are. Infinite. Infinite. St. Augustine said that what we know of nature is not all there is to nature. Much of what is taught now in physics was really unknown until about 130 years ago. Now, we're going to learn a lot more in the next 130 years. And yes, of course, for my rationalist brothers and sisters listening, yes, there are physical aspects to the universe. We know that. And to ourselves as well. But there are also spiritual aspects. And I'm talking about spirituality not as woo-woo, but in the cultivation of your inner life. Who you are, where you stand in the cosmos, where you think you stand. It is clear, at least to me, that a deeper and deeper study of ourselves and the cosmos go hand in hand. I wish I could have called into the Senate hearings last week. The great spiritual teachers of humanity, including the Buddha, the man we name as Jesus, Lao Tzu, they have said in so many words that the subtler the truth, the deeper the part of ourselves is needed to comprehend it. It reminds me of the story of Nicodemus in the New Testament. Now, Nicodemus had to meet Jesus by night. He didn't want to let people know that they kind of talked and, that kind of thing. And so Jesus is telling him about what it means to be reborn, which the churches have misconstrued. And so he says to Jesus, reborn? Do you mean I have to go back into my mother's womb? And so Jesus says to him, brother, if I speak to you of earthly things and you don't understand, then how will you understand when I speak to you of heavenly things? That's what I would have said to the son. You got to let go of the old consciousness. You can't be so literal. And so therefore, a transformation of our consciousness is needed in order to become more and more deeply ourselves. Only then can we be more and deeply aware of the subtler and even more subtle aspects of the cosmos. In the mystical strands of all religious traditions, there has been a great deal of emphasis on self-study and self-knowledge. You just don't follow blindly. That's one reason you're here, because we encourage that. In the sciences, though, we have institutionalized the need for control. Control of the superficial way where we say we fully understand something. We understand it because we can predict and we can control it. But what does that really mean? The insistence on control and manipulation, does it mean we really know something? Does it not guarantee that we cannot truly and fully know something by these methods? Anything that's more subtle than we are, anything that's more intelligent than we are, higher than we are, has a higher technological knowledge than we have, or more intelligent than we are. Suppose such a thing, being or force, is not susceptible to our control, to our airspace, as it were. What are we to make of this materialistic reductionist physics of the cosmos? Is it certainly questionable, well, it is questionable, that our relationship to the entire multiverse, it's not a universe, it's a multiverse, in which we occupy small place on an ordinary planet of an ordinary peripheral star in an average galaxy. Should our goal be simply to control? If scientists speak of lacking evidence of anything higher than human beings, let's say angels, that's to be expected. For their procedures specifically preclude the possibility of such evidence, but just because you don't have the evidence doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The possibility, William Blake had no problem seeing angels. So how and where can we cultivate such perception? I'm glad you asked. The vastness of the universe, this multiverse, cannot be controlled. It cannot be controlled. there is an obvious need to be open to the mystery of both ourselves and the external universe. By definition, spiritual mysteries, unlike scientific ones, can never be solved. They can't be solved. Yet, if the mind can be quiet, Einstein tells us imagination is more important than knowledge. If the mind can be quiet in contemplation and wonder, these mysteries can be experienced. The only thing that keeps you from experiencing it is your mind. That's the only thing. The old science says, come on, Michael, show me and I'll believe you. Quantum physics says, believe and I'll show you. I'll show you. Poets and so the response throughout human history has been that of celebration. Poets like Dante, Langston Hughes, Alice Walker, they were others, right? You know, understand. They like poetry. Dancers, Arthur Mitchell, I'm dating myself, Nureyev, Baryshnikov, Alvin Ailey, Gelsey Kirkland. They danced. Musicians, Bach, Charlie Parker, Einstein did physics. So the question now becomes, stay with me, the question now becomes, what kind of learning do we need as we go into this future that we're going into? What kind of learning do we need? Is there any point in having knowledge if it does not transform the quality of your being as a knower? I got so much information that's coming out of my you know what? I look at the information. I don't need any more information. I need wisdom. I need wisdom. And we live in a culture that confuses the two. It seems that real knowledge consists of knowing the cosmos as well as myself, because we're both one and the same. I'm speaking of both science and theology, not in the limited manner we've come to understand them, but in a way that inevitably involves a radical transformation of the person, of the knower, right? We're talking knowing and being. This knowing is by experiencing, by intimacy, by identity, not by distancing. Charlie Parker said, if you haven't lived it, it won't come out of your heart. It requires a sense of oneness, a feeling of love between the knower and the object that we're trying to know. It requires the words of Meister Eckhart, who says, we're looking for a fusion, but not confusion. Real knowledge describes the qualities of the knower, and that includes selflessness, humility, compassion, and love, as you were saying. The important point to remember here is that there can be no real knowledge unless it results in transformation of the quality of the being of the knower. Otherwise, you'll go around saying, Michael, I know that. I know that, but you don't do it. The important point to remember here is that there can be no real knowledge unless it is transformation, learning, knowledge, information. It's a double-edged sword. We need knowledge, but we also need freedom from knowledge. We need metrics, but we need freedom from metrics so that we can come to the mystery beyond all the data. A famous physicist was once remarked that what cannot be measured cannot be real. Shankara, perhaps the most highly regarded philosopher in India, said that what can be measured cannot possibly be real. We are, each of us, on a journey without end. It's a journey without distance because the journey's in here. And so we're going inside. So we long for the infinite. We don't even know what to name it, and it's good because if we did, we'd kill each other even more. but by wanting to be right about it. But we all long for the infinite, the eternal, the eternal. Some of us want to speak to each other, pilgrim to pilgrim. We're pilgrims here. What's a pilgrim soul? It's a soul that says, not yet. And we're not there yet. There's a restlessness. I call it a spiritual insomnia, that if you will, it's a willing to put up with some discomfort. It's a hunger for the unknown. It's a hunger for inquiry. There's no fixed position. It's a reverence for the journey. It's a reverence for the journey. It's not so much the goal, it's the journey. Unitarian Albert Schweitzer calls it a reverence for life. A reverence for life. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know. Sometimes you can just be. A pilgrim is a student, a searcher, a sojourner, a wanderer, not quite satisfied with anything but the infinite. And religion and spirituality need to assist us in engaging in this inter-pilgrim dialogue. So much of our thinking and feeling is conditioned by our culture, religion, language, country, our circumstances. So the question is this: are our religious texts and stories leaving us more conditioned or less? Does being cultured and educated make us more prejudiced? Does it make us more biased? You know, Mark Twain said, I was educated once. Took me years to get over. Years. So, does it mean being more open-hearted? Does it mean being more willing to be surprised? Oh, I've seen it all. Oh, Michael, shut up. Sit down. It's time to go. I've seen it all. Oh, is that where you're coming from? We need to periodically contemplate the vastness of this cosmos. And so there I am, right? And there you are. And there we are together. We can still learn from the reflections of the great saints and avatars and sages and prophets of old. We got the technology at this moment in history. It's easy to access the wisdom of these people. We need to search for the best of the East, which is, which used to be nonviolence. We know some Buddhists don't mind kicking your butt either if they have to, but that's another story. But usually it's nonviolence from the East. It's receptivity. It's spiritual search. And for the West, it's exploration. It's scientific research. It's chutzpah. We can combine those things. We need to avoid passivity and indifference and aggression and manipulation. So I ask you, rhetorically, how can we be a centered self without becoming self-centered? See, I got nothing else to do on vacation but thinking. And I thank you for putting up with it. But as we keep on the journey, our journeys, as we learn and teach, we need to keep coming back to the greatest mystery that is our own existence in this vast multiverse. Who am I? Why am I here? Each of us has to answer that question for ourselves, but this mystery can be experienced. 13 days before his death, the celebrated poet of India, Tagore, wrote a poem in Bengali. This is his native tongue. It says, in the beginning of my life, with the first rays of the rising sun, I asked myself, who am I? At the end of my life, with the last rays of the setting sun, I asked myself, who am I? Who am I? My Christian friends would say, whose am I? And then we start arguing. One of my favorite philosophers, as you know, is William. I got a ton of them, but William Blake. We quoted him at the beginning. I love this quote, and I hope it resonates with you on some level. In the universe, multiverse, there are things that are known, and there are things that are unknown. And in between, there are doors. in between their doors. And so you and I, we journey on, being and knowing and being, or at least trying to. The brilliant mind of Werner Heisenberg reminds us, not only is the universe stranger than we think, it's stranger than we can think. Indulge me with this last quote. It can make me tear up when I think about it, looking at my life journey, not yours, my life journey. It's from a Japanese poet by the name of Arawara Narahira. I think it's apropos to close with this. He says, I've always known that at last I would take this road. But yesterday, I did not know that it would be today. It's calm. I'll close again. Number 12. A life that makes all things new. Please stand as you are willing and okay, we cannot leave until we give our choir and maestros choral a hand. Again, I just want to remind you, if you want to serve on the board, let me know. And let's close with the words of Universalist John Merritt. Go out into the highways and byways of America. You may possess only a small light, but uncover it and let it shine and use it to bring more light and understanding to the hearts of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Do not push them into despair, but preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. Have a wonderful afternoon.